Hello everyone, my name is Saad Abdel Jabbar and today I will be presenting my first current event, and for the first current event I chose cost transparency. And I chose this topic because I believe it is an issue that a lot of people do not have any idea what stuff costs in healthcare. Not before, during, but after a while of having the procedure or a test, and then they will get an explanation of benefits they get and how much they have to pay for it. So, according to Peter G. Peterson, healthcare spending is anticipated to rise by an average of 5.5% per year in the next decade, and growing from $3.5 trillion in 2017 to $6 trillion in 2027. So there are many factors that play an important role in the rise that we see in healthcare cost. According to the IHME Foundation, on the article, new study explains why US healthcare spending increased to $1 trillion. Some of these factors, such as increases in how often people use healthcare services and the price and intensity of these services. And now let's switch to the PowerPoint slides to talk more about the new rule of cost transparency and how it is affecting the healthcare system in the United States. Current Event 1: Cost Transparency in the Healthcare. The healthcare is one of the fast-changing industries that faces numerous challenges. Is cost transparency a challenge, or is it an advantage? By Saad Abdel Jabbar, MHA 575. So first of all, let's see what we have for today's presentation in the agenda. I will start by an introduction of what cost transparency is. Then the new rule of Trump administration of cost transparency, and what are the reasons for creating this new rule. After that, I will demonstrate the view of most of the healthcare sector on the new rule. Following, I will talk about charge master in hospitals and the old rule before the new cost transparency rule. Then some of the implications of cost transparency on the healthcare system in the United States. And finally, a conclusion. Introduction of cost transparency. Cost transparency in healthcare should have the three check marks in this slide, which is starting with readily accessible. It should be free and user-friendly on hospitals' websites for the services they provide. It should also help to determine the value of the services provided, and it should allow patients to recognize the services they seek, compare between the different hospitals, and select which hospital and which service that provide the desired level of value they want. Cost transparency is seen by both sides of the government and healthcare sectors as either a solution or an issue. And I will explain that in the coming slide, starting with the view of Trump administration new rule. Trump administration. At the beginning of 2021, Trump administration asked hospitals to post their rates on their websites for their services, medications, and supplies to their patients. Where this new rule is assisting in educating patients on the services provided, improve overall quality, where the focus on high-value care more with the patient engagement in choosing their care, which will also lead to improved patient satisfaction and reduce costs, and again focusing more on the value and effectiveness more than the cost. These rates are the same prices negotiated with the insurers and the discount they offer to their cash-paying customers. According to Cynthia Fisher, founder and chairman of Patient Rights Advocate, these are the real prices in healthcare, which goes beyond the previous rule of requiring hospitals to post their charge masters. This new rule will allow patients to access and select the exact service they seek among various hospitals for the price that they can afford. Trump Charge Master is a detailed collection of what a healthcare facility provides, such as the products, procedures, and services. Knowing that prescription drugs, supplies for diagnostic tests, and various procedures have a particular price in the database of the charge master. The most critical thing to note about the charge master listing is that the premiums do not actually represent the real cost of the services provided. Indeed, the creation of the charge master data originates not from the medical practitioners, but with finance department, whose main priorities are to control the hospital's sales cycle and coordinate these rates with private insurance plans. However, insured patients would not pay the same chargemaster rates because their insurance already paid the agreed-on payment after the negotiation and passes on any co-pays and below-deductible responsibilities. But it is important to have an accurate and up-to-date chargemaster. There are an entire team dedicated to chargemaster management, including controllers and consultants who advise chief-level executives who are in charge of an entire department such as CFO and CIO, to collaborate with medical experts to obtain more information about programs, products, and services that are in operation, how common they are used, and whether they are intended to be discontinued or updated. This team pays a lot of attention to avoid revenue loss, legal liabilities, and any confusing and high costs for patients. According to truTV, Adam Ruins Everything broadcast, the real reason hospitals are so expensive. A while ago, hospitals' pricing was very simple, where they take the cost of providing care and add a little bit on top to make a profit. For example, a hospital would charge $120 for a patient on a simple procedure that actually cost $100. But after the arrival of insurance providers, hospital billing became difficult, partially because these giant insurance companies requesting massive discounts, where those partnerships take thousands of patients to hospitals every day and demand for half of all the hospital bills they bill the patients, where hospitals cannot afford to do so. So, in order to accommodate these influential insurance providers, hospitals' financing departments began to make a higher fake rate to give these cooperation a discount. Most healthcare sectors, on the other hand, believe that this information will provide minimal benefits for its patients, increase complications between hospitals and private insurance, and carries with it several undesirable effects that could have an impact on healthcare system. The cost transparency could have different effect on different hospitals. So based on if the hospital is already requiring high costs for its patients, The cost transparency will force it to reduce these prices, which will decrease the health spending in this region. And the other side, things might go the other direction. With low-cost services in other facilities, it will be seeking a raise, pushing up spending. Most notably, the price transparency can help, but it could be more important for various players to have pricing control. So, while the hospital industry arguing in court the parts of this new rule that it go too far, violating their First Amendment rights and requires hospital to share trade secrets, they claim that this information could then be used against them in deals with insurers and employers. Although cost transparency helps minimize expenses, educate patients about the services they pay for, and increase the overall quality, there are 10 short-term consequences to expect from this new regulation. These 10 short-term consequences include competitive pricing for some hospitals, and it will become more competitive. For example, imaging such as for chest x-rays and MRIs, and then many hospitals may need to increase prices on emergent services to bridge the revenue gap created by lower prices for discretionary services. According to Health Affairs, it may negatively affect hospitals' negotiations with private payers and provide minimal benefits to the consumers, leading many hospitals to increase their prices. For example, high reputation hospitals find that they do not command the highest rates as their competitive or lower reputation hospitals. And then hospitals will need more market power to negotiate the payment rates needed to sustain these operations in the hospital, which will lead many hospitals to decide on merging with other hospitals or staying by their own and fighting for these prices. And then the rural and small town net hospitals will not be able to survive due to struggling to negotiate sufficient payment rates. Plus, they already pay high salaries to attract physicians. And then the adoption of new technology will decrease unless it has shown an improvement in the outcomes for patients. Then the change in reimbursement models focusing on quality, safety, and patient satisfaction, and the outcomes overall, and other measures too. Where price transparency will give the Department of Justice, the DOJ, more information on the impact of proposed mergers and acquisitions on healthcare consumers. The Medicare beneficiaries are not subject to deductibles or co-payments, and there are a very small number of patients covered by high deductibles plans may influenced by the rule, as well as having a minimal impact on privately insured individuals with low out-of-pocket obligations. And last consequences, or the last consequence from these 10 consequences is the complication on the effort to advance the value-based payment. So before we come to the conclusion, whether or not you accept price transparency, you agree that price transparency is successful or not, there are definitely enough data to validate your statement. Researchers from University of Michigan have confirmed that the state-run healthcare pricing website in New Hampshire has lowered the cost of medical imaging by 5% for patients and 4% to the insurers. Those that used the website saved about $7.9 million and insurers saved around $36 million in X-rays, CT scans, and MRI scans during the 5-year period. And coming to the cons, critics say prices in healthcare is too complex for transparency to work. The American Journal of Managed Care studied more than 140 million health benefit member across 31 separate business plans that had access to pricing transparency resources and found that only 2% have used them. In the end, price transparency is a trending concept in today's healthcare system. Trump's administration called for increased pricing transparency in healthcare so that consumers could understand the full cost of a procedure or service and have the ability to shop and select around different hospitals and make the most informed decision. While healthcare sectors have a different view of the cost transparency rule, where they believe that it will be causing many undesired consequences and complications between different hospitals and private insurance. That being said, price transparency needs to be tested. Before that happens, we're not going to know the effectiveness of markets as alternatives to our health cost problems. While price uncertainty is open for debate, it will be wise to regulate assumptions about the benefits of price transparency. My personal experience with cost transparency can vary between my hometown in Saudi Arabia and the United States. Health treatment in Saudi Arabia is seen as a right for all citizens, which ensures that it is free of charge for all the Saudi citizens, doctors, and all the healthcare staff. So it really does not affect patients as much knowing how much a procedure costs if you do not pay for it anyway. Cost transparency in Saudi Arabia may not be an efficient way to boost efficiency, minimize expenses, but it may enhance patient satisfaction, where it is beneficial to engage patient to their care. On the other hand, when I'm living in the United States and paying for my treatment, I'd love to see the disparity in cost and the different decisions I can make and uh, the difference in value I'm having at the end of the day. Is it worth, for example, having this treatment in this hospital or the same treatment in another hospital for a cheaper price? So I'm going to leave you with a few things to think about. What if we all knew what the procedure and test costs are in advance? Now we're using Google to buy almost everything. So just imagine going through an MRI or X-ray, whatever sort of treatment you're looking for, and boom, you have various of pages informing you where to get this treatment or test or whatever, and how much it is. Like it's the same thing for when you Google, for example, bags, jackets, dog food, dogs, toys, scarves, everything. I mean, most importantly, to think about this is what if we all can pick between getting a treatment for $300, for example, or a treatment or the same treatment for $20? Would that change the prices and the cost of healthcare in general too? Here we come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something new as I did. Thank you.